Thanks a lot for staying with us. The other big story we're debating is how the central government's move to set 28% GST on online gaming, casinos and horse racing has created a row. The move was announced by the Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. This is being seen as a blow to the online gaming industry, which is currently valued at about $2.6 billion and is expected to reach $8.6 billion by 2027, so in another 5 years. Finance Minister Sitharaman has, of course, said that the move is not aimed to hurt any industry and that the government does not intend to shut down these industries as well. The decision was made, of course, by the apex decision-making body of the GST, which comprises of Finance Minister from the central government and, of course, representatives from all states and union territories as well. So, in a way to suggest that this is not just a unilateral call of the central government. The All India Gaming Federation has issued a statement calling this decision unconstitutional, irrational and egregious. The Federation has argued that the 28% GST rate will be a major disincentive for the growth of the gaming industry. So just to bring you up to date, what is it that has been changed? There's a 28% GST tax that has been imposed on full face value of the transactions and not just on the platform fees, which was earlier being suggested. The 30% TDS is also going to be levied on net winnings of those who participate in these games or esports. And the 10,000 rupee threshold which was there has now been removed. As I mentioned, the Online Gaming Federation is not happy. They have gone on to say that this is a self-goal that will kill online gaming industry. The GST Council decision not in national interest is what they're saying. They've also called it unconstitutional, irrational and egregious. And they have also said that this could lead or will lead to lakhs of job losses. Now that claim is also under question. The centre has defended this move by saying that the agenda is not to kill the industry. All sorts of business have to be kept alive as far as they are concerned. Casinos in Goa and Sikkim yield a lot of revenue for two small states. It is not so much our position, but every state felt that this decision should be taken. So the big debate that's coming in as far as this 28% tax on online gaming is concerned, could it mean game over for the industry?
Betting, gambling and lotteries are already in it. We will be including online gaming also into it. And horse racing. As a result, that actionable claim has this amendment which will be affected now. And therefore, they will be taxable, and therefore the council spent quite some time today deciding on, yes, they are taxable, on what? Therefore, full face value. Yes, they are taxable, how much? 28%.
Going across to the guest joining us, Roland Landers is CEO of All India Gaming Federation. Ajay Rotti is founder and CEO of Tax Compass. Nikhil Pava is joining us as founder Media Nama. And NS Napinai is founder Cyber Sati Foundation. I do want to go across to Roland first because you are the industry voice on the show. We know what the industry has already said, but can I just understand from you what were the deliberations that you had with the government and what is it that you plan to do now that this move has been ratified?
No, so the deliberations we've had have been in the run-up to the to yesterday, which is making representations with the various stakeholders, including the group of ministers and the various stakeholders within the FinMin, and yeah, so all those representations were made, highlighting the impact on the industry and also showcasing what are best practices that are employed both in terms of the rate of taxation and the valuation.
And what is it that Roland you're planning to do now?
So we plan to while we speak, the internal stakeholders are evaluating from a industry-wide perspective, but we are hopeful in the sense that we have to also keep in mind that the government has been extremely supportive of the industry over the last 1.5 years. I'm talking about the center. And this entire efforts that are being put in to form a regulation under a nodal ministry, which is extremely positive, and and hence we are hopeful that that a progressive regime is considered.
Okay.
If this can be relooked at, and a progressive regime, a tax regime that not only fulfills the objective of getting higher taxation, but also supporting the industry to grow to its potential. Because that's the industry has delivered over the last 5 years, continues to need support.
No, so can I just ask you a follow-up before I go to my other guests? You're saying that you want something that can be arrived at, which is both in the realm of high taxation, but also something that works for the industry. So what is that tax slab that you're comfortable with? Roland.
Yeah, so it's not what we are looking at. I would like to allude to the GOM report, that the second GOM report that suggested a tax of 28% on the platform fee or gross gaming revenue.
Okay.
That was in the GOM report.
All right. So you're saying instead of the full face value, it should be on the platform fee. Mr. Rotti, I'm coming to you. Would that have been the righter thing to do? And also, how do you look at the government's argument that, see, this is not a unilateral decision they have taken. This is a decision that has been taken by the GST Council, and everybody's, majority approval has gone into this.
Yeah. So, on the second bit, yes, of course, that's how GST functions, because GST Council makes the recommendation. GST Council has representations from union and state. So without getting into whether there's logic in that or not, because tax rates are what they are, as long as they have the powers to do it, we don't need to be searching as to why they would do, but I'll come to that in a minute again. But really the issue is not just on the rate. There are two parts, and Roland did speak about it. One is, just to take an example, if there are two people who are playing a game and there are 1,000 rupees each they are putting, and then they take home, the winner takes home 2,000. And the platform holds back 200 rupees out of those 2,000 as a fees. Thus far, what was happening is that 200 was being subject to GST at 18%, because it was a normal game of skill, is what most of the industry used to take. And therefore, that's where the tax was. What has been proposed now is that the entire 2,000 rupees itself will be liable to GST, and at a higher rate of 28%. I think the issue is largely on the tax base and the base that is being used for tax, rather than the rate by itself. And this is again not a new issue. This has been there for a while. The first report of the group of ministers was placed before the 47th meeting in June 22. Thereafter, they were asked to relook at certain issues. Even yesterday, when the FM mentioned, she said that there's no consensus on whether the full value has to be taxed or the platform fee has to be taxed. But, they've taken a decision to tax the entire value. Now, there could be some legal challenges mounted here, whether they can charge, because that's not a consideration for supply of service or goods. Therefore, how can you bring the entire amount to tax? So there will be issues. I think this is going to this is not the last that we are hearing on this.
Right.
And so far as whether it was the right thing to do, I think this is going to hurt the industry. There's no doubts about that, because there will be some implementation challenges in addition to all the stress that's going to be there on cash flows and the profitability of the sector itself, and whether people will participate with such high taxes. I think we'll have to wait and see, because the other thing is, what's announced now is just the recommendation of the GST Council. How these amendments will come, we'll have to wait and see. And thereafter, there could be some legal challenges mounted, and courts will come into play.
Okay, so you're saying there's still a little bit of time before some sort of deviation or correction can be done?
Yes, there is. Of course, there is.
Okay. Nikhil Pava, can I bring you in? it's been made to sound that this will be the death knell of the online gaming industry. That not only will this mean that its growth is impacted to a level where it will die, that it will also lead to a lot of job losses. Now, is there also not a little bit of hyperbole?
Oh, completely, because you see, online gaming is a very vast global industry. Most games, in fact, do not charge money to play. You might, let's say, buy an additional round of a game for money.
Yeah.
So, look, we need to separate gaming from what is now being called online real money gaming, because effectively it's more of wagering. You're putting money with the intent of earning money back.
Yes.
Most games in the world today, and there are billions of games out there, do not expect you to play it because you expect to earn money back.
True.
So this is not going to hurt the gaming industry either in India or in the world. This is probably going to hurt the online real money gaming industry, which was anyway a very overheated sector. I mean, you look at the kind of ads that many of these players were running, and and I'm not painting everyone under the same brush. There are responsible and there are irresponsible companies here. And many of them were offering, that someone's won X amount of money or X percentage of returns, what we saw with crypto earlier. So, if people were playing just because the objective of earning money and not because of gaming, which is an entertainment industry, then I think equating that with gaming is wrong.
Okay.
But also, if that is being taxed, if you're basically doing this to earn money, then I think we also needed to take the heat out of the sector, because, in states like Tamil Nadu, Telangana, there have been suicides and there have been loan apps that have been giving people loans which are being used to, again, play some of these real money gaming. So there is,
so you're saying there is a moral argument here? That there is a moral argument here, which the government also seems to be indicating.
Also definitions, Shivani, also definitions, right?
Yeah.
Gaming is different from this real money gaming stuff that they're talking about.
Right.
This is more similar to gambling. In gambling, there is no skill involved. In some real money games, as they're called, there is skill involved. There are games of skill, there are games of chance. We need to make sure that there's a clear understanding, because even the central government regulation that's come in does not distinguish between games of skill and games of chance.
No, so that's the other argument that the industry is making, that you should have differentiated between games of skill and games of chance. Very quickly, Nikhil, before I go to Napinai as well.
Well, absolutely. I think this, but I don't think this is a matter for courts now to basically, because there are courts that are determined what's a game of skill and what's a game of chance. I'm not sure whether the government has the ability to do that.
If I have it correct, and I spoke to MOS Rajiv Chandrasekhar when the gaming rules had been notified, they have instituted an industry body to go case by case on every game. Every game needs to get an approval of that industry body, and that industry body will ratify whether it's a game of skill or chance and whether that game can be deemed addictive. So that exercise is happening parallelly.
I don't think it is the remit of the center to determine what is a
not the center, it's the industry body.
So, but the centers is allowing an industry body to do so.
Yes.
And that's not the right approach here. The other thing is, frankly, the rules that the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology have come out with, they create an entire regulatory framework around online real money gaming.
Yes.
But the IT Act doesn't really allow them to do this in the first place. So I would actually, as someone was talking about the constitutionality of this GST, I'm questioning the constitutionality of the rules that the government has come out with.
All right.
I think the finance ministry has done a rational, right thing over here.
Okay.
The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has a lot to answer for about how they've been making rules after rules without actually having the legal basis for it.
All right, I'll leave that aside for now, because that's not technically what we're discussing. But on the issue of taxation itself, Napinai, what's your view? The government is facing a lot of heat over this, and they've added horse racing. They've obviously added, gambling, casinos, and online games also. Should they have at least differentiated between online gaming and the others?
Before I start a small qualifier, I've literally landed into this debate now. So please don't treat whatever I'm saying as a final opinion, but just as a preliminary take from whatever I've seen. On the face of it, these are my few points I wanted to make. One, as the speakers before me have already pointed out, Was the GST Council within its rights to make this change or increase the slab? They were very well within their rights. Is there likely to be an impact on the industry? Yes, but is it going to close it down? Certainly not. We always tend to overreact, particularly when it comes to taxes and slabs. And I think in this particular instance, it's clearly a little bit of an overstatement on that. Finally, the last point which you raised is what I wanted to emphasize. We've been talking about the delineation in terms of game of skill and game of chance, fully forgetting that that delineation became relevant when it came to the issue in terms of implementing certain laws, which ban games of chance,
gambling,
like lotteries, etc.
Yeah.
And under the Lotteries Act, you had to go only through the processes which are permissible for you to run a lottery, like through a government-enabled agent, etc.
Yes.
So when we talk about this delineation and taxation, technically the same thing may not apply. So merely stating it as a superficial thing may not really help the industry. As I think some excellent points were made by all the speakers before me, and as Nikhil was pointing out too, merely saying about game of skill and game of chance is not really going to help the industry. If there is a tax slab for offline, real-time, real money gambling, and if you are passing off a game which is technically just real money gambling, and if they are being treated on par, merely because the domain is different is not going to help the industry create a delineation.
So you're saying because casinos are taxed at a certain rate, this is the issue that came up in the GST Council also, that the casinos make a lot of money for some states. They are taxed at a certain rate. Why not these online games too? Isn't it? That's what you're suggesting?
I'm just saying that merely because you're an online game, you don't get any differential
treatment.
Treatment. If you're being treated on par, and all I'm saying is do not mix up the delineation that why go only to the Karnataka High Court judgment that the industry has quoted. Go back to the origin in Chamarbagh Gala. The delineation was for a very different purpose. It was in terms of what is actually illegal versus legal.
What is legal in India? Because betting is not legal in India.
The intermediary guidelines have been made legal, and that was a natural step. And I think the industry was expecting even then that they are going to be facing a higher slab.
Okay.
And today, the issue is really between whether you want to claim it as direct or indirect taxes. And if you balance it out, and if you look at global trends also, I won't say we are that far off the mark.
Yes, I think most of the levies in other countries is similar on earnings especially. It differs a little bit, but I think the point is about platform fees versus full face value, as our experts have pointed out. I'll come back to that issue. But Roland, I would just want to come back to you. What is, do you think, the main issue for you here and the impact of this?
The impact, yes. The impact is what I wanted to highlight on. The impact is across the ecosystem. So game development, gamer and gaming platform. Okay. For the gamer, his participation fee or entry fee is going to go up by 300% or 3x. If this new valuation method is employed.
300% you're saying, yes.
So that is the impact on the gamer. The impact on the gaming platform is that the movement from the valuation from GGR methodology to face value, as indicated in the press con yesterday, makes it an upside of 1100%. 1100% movement from GGR level of valuation to the face value. Okay. And what that would render is that for a gaming platform, the tax payable would be higher than the platform revenue.
Okay.
And so what will happen is that for the gamer, inadvertently, he would try to veer towards, illegal gambling sites that are unfortunately available, offshore, sites, which everyone is aware of, because they are not paying taxation. So this could be one of the outcomes.
Okay, so once again, if I just want to clarify this, you're saying that 28% on the platform fees was acceptable to you. It is particularly the 28% on the entire face value which is creating this issue, right?
That is what I guess. If that happens, the impact I just explained to you is something that seems improbable to absorb or factor in. I mean, forget online gaming. Any other industry would
not be able to do it. Okay. Mr. Rotti, you concur with that? That face value issue is the major one and it could upset the industry. Nikhil, I'll come to you next. Yes, Mr. Rotti.
Yeah. Yes, I would completely agree. And I think the issue is not just from a commercial or commercial sustainability or viability perspective. I think there's a legal issue as well there. Because, just getting a little technical, on lotteries, GST is applicable where lottery is treated as a goods. And on gambling, it's applicable because that says a service. So there's a higher rate, but those two are applicable. Now, if you fit this into any of those, then you need to be bringing the tax only what is for the service or the supply, which is really the platform fees. Now, I'll take an absurd example. If somebody walks into a casino, pays 1 lakh rupees and takes chips. Now, if 28% is applicable, 1 lakh becomes 128%. Therefore, he gets chips for about 78,000 rupees. What happens if he doesn't play and he goes back and surrenders the chip? Does he get back 78,000? Because he's paid 1 lakh rupees, he's not even used that, which is practically possible. So how would you levy tax on money which does not even belong to the platform? Because the platform has no lien on these amounts, whether it's the platform or the casino. So I think the big challenge and the issue is only on the basis of taxation. The rate could be 30%, 40%. I don't think anybody can challenge that rate. The GST Council has the powers. It's constitutionally valid. They could bring it in. I think the base use for taxation is what will be subject to challenge in my view.
Yes. And Nikhil, the other issue that, for example, Roland has brought in is that this could encourage gamers to go to illegal platforms or offshore platforms. Again, do you think that is a real concern here?
It could be, but there are other issues that come with that, because then there could be money laundering and various other things that come. And I don't think migration there would be that easy, but it could happen. I'm not ruling that out, but that could
All right.
be.
Mr. Rotti, thank you. But that was for Nikhil. Nikhil Pava. Yes.
So let me address that. I think most of us play games on our phones today. We don't pay money for it. I think there needs to be a very clear distinction that this is not going to impact gamers in this country. It's not going to impact gaming in this industry. So by repeatedly saying it doesn't make it happen. It's going to impact a handful of companies and a handful of players that are playing these games for money. That's all it is going to impact. So, let's not obfuscate the issue by equating it with the gaming industry this world or in this country as such. That's a very different ecosystem.
All right.
So I think that in my opinion, the finance ministry has done the right thing. But I would agree that the distinction between getting taxed on the entire amount that you're putting in versus what you're winning is going to be a bone of contention, and that's probably going to get taken up.
Okay.
But we also need to realize that this industry needs to first gain legitimacy by having a proper law that enables it. There is no law right now.
Unfortunately, I've run out of time.
In all conversations, everyone's equating this with gambling, by the way. You're talking about casino. Even the GST Council in its rulings has equated it in gambling and taxation at least.
I've run out of time, but this is certainly an issue we will continue to keep an eye on and complexities that are with it. I thank our guests for joining us.